Is there anything more egotistical than doing a rewatch podcast about a show that no one watches? Is this for our own pleasure?
So Kelly brought that up the other day. She's like, "Wait, why are you talking about your shows? Aren't you gonna make new stuff?" And I was like, "Well, this is new stuff." And she said, "Well, but you're talking about things that you've done in like a career retrospective."
I know, that's great. That's why I wanted to bring it up.
So I thought, well, I had brought it up how like, well, Ara had said like,
The guys from The Sopranos.
right. So they're doing one. Hey, let's talk about the episodes and reflect and all that. And she's like, yeah, but that was The Sopranos.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
And I was like, I'll just so you know, we're gonna keep doing it. All right, welcome back. This is RQ, the podcast.
Here we are.
Second episode. Very exciting.
I'm very excited.
This week, of course, we are going to talk about our second ever episode that we filmed, or at least that we released, Big Trouble in Little China. And Ara, I just want to start off real quick with a question for you.
Boy, here we go. Here come the gotcha questions.
All right. So what inspired the background settings that you created for the Big Trouble in Little China? If I remember, there was a plant, a lantern or two. Where did that come from?
It's a really interesting question, Andrew.
Thank
you for asking. I actually had that on my list as well.
Are you serious?
Yeah. It was. I was like first time building like a kind of practical set. Honestly, I don't really know, but if I had to guess, I'm really into building practical things. As you can see, I did this all by myself yesterday, as I mentioned. It only took me 3 hours to move a sofa by myself. I think, after seeing that first episode where it was just we were sitting in front of a large dining table in front of a green screen in an office, I think we just kind of wanted to try and break it up a little bit, try something different.
Yeah.
So we shot this in my living room in front of the fireplace with a big green screen.
Right.
You're the one that you found the photo, the backdrop, right?
Yeah.
We knew it was going to be set in Chinatown.
Right.
So I guess I just wanted to bring in some practical some practical settings to kind of break up the monotony of the green screen. So it was like I had this lantern. It kind of looks Asian. This table. So I think it was really just to kind of make it more visually stimulating, I guess. That's really what it came down to. After the first one being so just like straight ahead, I guess it was visually boring. It was just, we were both wearing tan outfits. It was a white tablecloth and just a stagnant background, one microphone. So this time we're like, let's break up this, let's break it up a little bit and have some real things mixed in with the green screen. And I think it actually, it looked really good and it still kind of holds up.
One of the things that I was not thinking about whatsoever by having a green screen is that anything that is green will also disappear in there. So all of the leaves that were on the tree miraculously disappeared, which I found out as we I don't remember the name of it, but when you put the green screen on the video and then it's like chroma key or
Chroma
something.
key, yeah, that's what it's called.
And you press that.
We make films.
Yeah. Yeah.
We understand terms. Chroma key.
Filters, all that. But whoops, didn't realize it would just make all the leaves disappear. That's okay. I mean, you live and learn, right?
Well, we would use that to our advantage later once we realized we could use a blue sky as a blue screen. I told you earlier that I realized we could put the video feed on that TV and use it as a blue screen if we wanted to. So these are things that we learned just through trial and error, I guess. But
yeah, kind of by accident. So in the second episode, I wouldn't call it cockiness, but I would say that there was definitely a make it up as you go.
Yeah.
What can you say to that?
I feel like in rewatching this again, the second episode last night, I agree. I think we went into that thinking we were basically famous at that point. Our first video had gotten 200 views, and we're like, yeah, we're awesome. Let's just keep doing nothing. Let's keep not planning. And in rewatching it, I was somewhat let down or disappointed because I assumed it would be better than the first episode, and in some ways it was, but in many ways it was basically the same thing. So it was actually more difficult to watch the second episode, just because you can forgive the ineptitude of our first episode, but seeing this one, you're like, it wasn't much better. We had a practical set, but that's about it. But yeah, I think we were just kind of riding high. Like we had felt really good, and we had gotten, I guess, good feedback, whether or not whether it was warranted or not, or people were just being nice. But we just went in there thinking like, you know what, we got lightning in a bottle. Let's just keep going for it. But that being said, there are some parts of the show that were really great and really funny, and I still think are, and really just kind of helped us in that trajectory that we had started on in the first episode.
We didn't write a script. We had points that we wanted to make, and like, oh, what if we did this, or what if we did that? And I think at that point, Stu, we were still trying to figure out like, how do you want to do this? Mm-hmm. And it was like, choosing names out of a hat. It's pretty much the last time that we really did that.
We used a lantern this time.
We did.
Because we're in Chinatown.
Of course.
Do you remember the issue we had with the lantern? Do you remember this?
Things kept falling
through.
Yeah,
because the lantern has like a hole on the top, which is where we had the names, but it was a hole that went straight into the lantern. So we taped like a little piece of paper thinking it would work, but the paper kept falling. Mm-hmm. We were using chopsticks to get the names out, and then it was,
First episode that we did in the living room. We would only do a couple others in the living room, though. As we started getting into more in our actual narrative stories, I know that we had used pretty much every room in your house.
I don't think there is a room we haven't shot in except for my bedroom. So that one is off limits, I guess. But we've basically shot in every other room except that and the laundry room. Mm-hmm. We could probably do a lot in the laundry room.
I think
we have a laundry scene we could do. Maybe I open up the dryer and a bunch of cash falls out, and I'll be like, I'm laundering money.
Mr. Puddles could be in there.
Yeah. Like, that's actually
Mr. Puddles. How did
shrinks
you get?
Can we get him done this big? That's actually really. Are we taping this? That's a good. The first episode was in the studio, and at the end of it, we mentioned that we're like, where can we go to film a movie on the cheap where there's no rules? We're going to China. I think that's how we ended it, right? Or no, we didn't do that.
At the end of the first one, yes. We're going to China. I think we already had it in our mind what we wanted to do for the second episode.
Yeah, so I feel like in those beginning stages, in those early episodes, the whole thing was like, maybe we'll just travel to a different locale every episode. Mm-hmm. And that will kind of align with what we want to talk about and tie in with the movie that we're talking about. So in this case, we're like, well, Big Trouble in Little China. Maybe we'll go to Chinatown, and the whole gag will be my character, being as dumb as he is, doesn't realize that we booked a bus to Chinatown, not the actual country of China. That was the opening gag. Mm-hmm. Our assistant bought us a bus ticket to Chinatown, which is fine. So I guess our early ideas were like, well, let's just set it in a place that we can tie it into the movie that we're talking about that week. But I did like that sketch at the end of the video, or the end of the episode, where I go off and buy a bus ticket to get us out of there, and you're like, oh, where is it? Where are the tickets to? And I was like, I don't even check, and it ends up being Newark, New Jersey, mm-hmm. which is going to set up our next episode of Big, which takes place in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. So yeah, those first few episodes, we definitely jumped from location to location, for better or for worse. It also, I think, helped us with set design and just kind of having something more visually interesting week to week. I think the rest of the episode, we pretty much follow that same formula that we had at that point, which was sum up the film, talk about what we liked about it, and then kind of pitch our ideas for our version.
Mm-hmm. We really didn't think any of this out. Mm-mm. And that was the main source of the challenge. Like, we always kind of, I wouldn't say struggled with it, but we always would kind of go back and forth, like not wanting to put too much energy into it, because it was like, well, maybe we could be funnier if we just kind of bring it up in the spur of the moment. Mm-hmm. But the other challenge too was when you really don't have anything and you're just kind of sitting there twiddling your thumbs. Mm-hmm. Like, it got better as it went along, and we got a little bit more adept into making things happen. But I think when we were just sitting there, just like, I don't know what is really fun about this. Like, who's gonna even want to watch it? The moment where we were talking about the kind of problem that it turned out to be, which was like a language barrier problem. I mean, that's when I think it just became funny.
Yeah.
And it's really not until the end of the video.
Yeah, you literally see in real time our ideas for that episode evolving on film. And it's real. That we're by the end of that episode, we were cracking ourselves up because we thought we were so funny. And at the time, it was funny. It's still funny. That idea that we came up with of a guy moving to China to drive for Uber because he misunderstood how the exchange rate works, and then realizes he doesn't speak Chinese and doesn't know where anything is. Like, to me, that's still funny. And like, we literally came up with that on the spot. And I think I said like, maybe we call it like small problems in big China. And you're like, or what if it's a really small or some a big? No, I said big problems in big China.
Yeah.
And you're like, or what if it's just like a really small problem? And then I cracked up at that. It was like the language barrier, and also it was us laughing in that is 100% real because we literally came up with all that stuff on the spot.
Well, but that's the other challenge too. It has nothing to do with anything related to Big Trouble in Little China, whatsoever. A guy who wants to go drive for Uber, but that's where it went. It's like, because we were still straddling with this idea of like, well, let's make this serious. Like, what is a serious sequel or remake that could come out? At least that's how I was thinking of it. It's like, no. Let me put in some time and effort into figuring out. No, look, if this is really going to happen, let's be soothsayers here. Let's be prognosticators and just say, this is how it could actually work. See, everybody, we know what we're doing. And that's like, no, it's just an Uber driver. It doesn't matter. Let's just have him go to China. He doesn't know anything.
Well, we always were like, I think we were good at the little details. Like Jack Burton was a truck driver. So we're like, well, instead of a truck driver, he'll be an Uber driver to kind of modernize it. So we were really good about like focusing on those details because I think that's the type of people that we are. But beyond that, it's like struggling to come up with ideas and what worked. So just to see it happen in real time, I think is what made this episode at least a little bit better than the first one. Just to see, I guess like I figured at the time, and maybe this is still true, like if we appear to be having fun on screen, then the people watching us are going to have fun as well. And I think there's some truth to that, like you could see people cracking up and it makes you feel happy or somewhat, you may not fully laugh at the joke, but it at least puts you in the position of like, oh, these guys are having fun. Maybe I'm missing the joke. You know what I mean? So
YouTube is all about just, oh, here's some people, here are your friends that you're not friends with that you can just watch and they're having fun. It's like, I can join in too, and I can have fun along with these people who probably wouldn't, give me the time of day if I were to ever meet them in person. So
that's probably why YouTube works.
Yeah. Just like
compared to television where you're like, I wish I could be these characters' friends in real life. Whereas opposed to YouTube, I'm like, I kind of am friends with this person.
I am friends with this person. I'm watching their home movies.
Psycho. Yeah. How much of yourself do you see in what you play on Honey Wagon? And like, what's similar, what's different?
Well, if I think about a few episodes, I think that the character I play in the episodes is definitely more dumberer than I am.
Sure.
In real life.
Well, good talk. Later on, the whole, like, there was this kind of, like, really funny competitive nature between the two of us where, the whole R and Andrew and Ara thing, like, our characters each thought we were better than the other person, which I think lends itself to kind of the comedy in later episodes because our characters seem to think we're superior than the other, which is something that has been done before, but I think it really helps kind of lend a new element of comedy in later episodes.
At a certain point, I feel like maybe it kind of leveled out a little bit because there would be some sort of outside character that was maybe more of a threat, or
That's
maybe more of a like we're combining forces to go after that.
It's a good point. I think it started around the Christmas one but with the gift giving, and
Yeah.
I felt my character felt slighted because you got a Rolex and I got a fidget spinner, which is again, sorry we're laughing at our own jokes, but that was pretty good. But that was really the first time that competitiveness kind of came out, and then it continued with the introduction of the Nancy character. Because I was like, yeah, I'm cool with Nancy. Like, I went to this party, you weren't there. It was great.
Yeah, that's right.
And it just continued. But by the time we got into later seasons, I think you're right. The external forces were a much bigger adversary or antagonistic force to us than ourselves. So that's a good point.
Yeah, King Kong was more of the we're just like banding together to try to solve this. So yeah, but I mean that I guess that's the kind of thing though that when you're writing these characters, things evolve over time, and if they just remain stagnant, it's like, well, what are you really going to do with that? You just want to advance a little bit.
In the first episode, we brought up this name Fassbender. I think I called him Mohammed Fassbender.
You did.
Because we had this recurring thing where we'd pitch this idea for our film and then be like, well, who are we going to get to direct it? In this episode, this is the very, very first mention of William Redkin, who would go on to be a huge part of our show. We didn't really say anything about him. I think I brought up Fassbender again, and we talk about a little bit about his origin, about being a Ontario Canadian director. And then I said something like, well, there is always William Redkin. And you're like, William Redkin's fine. Moving on. And that was really it. But he becomes a much larger part of our big episode. That's really where we introduce his backstory. He was friends with George Lucas and all that stuff, even though he's like younger than we are.
You're having fun with just playing with different characters and building this world. And for me, I was just kind of like, well, I'm laser focused on. I'm just trying to be like, do you mean?
You're taking it too literally.
A little bit too literally. Therefore, when you're like Redkin, I'm like, well, I don't know who that is, but sure.
What did we say earlier when I was like, I got all my ideas from the shower? I was like, Redkin was a bottle of shampoo, and then what was the other one?
What did you say? Chamomile and
right.
lavender and chamomile.
Your film later on, in a much later episode, was a hand soap. So
right.
All my ideas come from the bathroom.
And that's fine. Ironically, most of my ideas come from the bathroom too.
It's so strange,
but just in a different connotation.
Right. Honey Wagon
itself.
It all makes sense now.
Wow, it's deconstructing everything.
Mr. Sponge was a character that we talked about for a while.
All of the characters that you had brought up, and I was kind of along for the ride. I didn't know what was really going on, but I didn't want to appear stupid. So I was just like,
you appear stupid.
The origins of characters, it's like you can see that on the video. It's like you see the creation of, and then the eventual continuation, and how they've evolved over time. It'd be very interesting to see. There will be another episode much later where we're talking about what's his name, Marvy. His son.
Oh, it could be so good. I'm excited for Marvy and that Marvy family in general. It's gonna be great. There's so many things we did with that.
Yeah.
Most of which I'm sure I've forgotten.
Well, there's PETA,
which again came up with the idea in that episode. cracking ourselves up.
You said. You said.
What?
You said something like PEE.
P-E-E-T-A?
P-E-E-T-A. PETA.
Wow. You heard it here, folks. Heard it here first.
Jesus Christ.
This is the most I've seen Andrew laugh in a long time.
There's a...
Jeez. Take a Diet Coke break here. We're definitely putting this in somewhere.
Patir.
Oh, Patir. See, I don't think it's that funny, but for some reason you started cracking up, so we went with it.
Well, it's because it's just like
PETA like the bread.
Right, so I like patir. It's like some sort of Indian food or something.
Right.
Who is patir? I think because I didn't know how to spell. Anyway.
That was good.
That's uncharacteristic of me.
Oh, sure.
Well, that's I think gonna do it for this week, episode 2, which was Big Trouble in Little China. A lot of fun episode making
Big
that.
fun.
Big fun. Very good.
Yeah.
I like the tie-in there.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, join us again. When our next video.
We'll be talking about Big, episode 3.
Coincidence that Big Trouble and Big right next to each other.
Sure.
It's not planned that way, probably. Maybe subconsciously, I don't know. But
yeah, good point.
Anyway, Ara, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, lots of fun. And we will see you again next week.
Excellent.